Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're doing something a little bit different because I'm actually talking to my camera right now. Feels a little weird, but I don't mind it. I kind of like it. As you can tell from the title, today I'm going to be talking about how I personally fell in love with reading. I also have my background set up with all my books to prove that yes, I do in fact love reading. So grab yourselves a cup of coffee. I have mine right here, or tea if you prefer, and let's get started. When I was younger, I didn't read at all. In fact, I actually hated it a lot. I was never one of those kids who liked going to the library to pick out a book, even if it had pictures in it. It felt painful to read for my eyes and my brain. It was just me and the book sitting on my lap, trying to comprehend the text on the pages, but I always got distracted so easily. I was also very insecure with reading out loud, as most children and even adults are. I still get nervous reading out loud, worried about saying a word wrong because I don't know what it means, worried about stuttering terribly, and even worrying about how red my face gets when reading out loud, and having it get even worse because I'm overthinking it. During COVID is when I truly began to pick up reading. There was nothing to do at home other than just play video games all day long, and I did have my fair share of video games that I loved playing 24/7, but even after some time it gets kind of boring. I didn't have school to go to because everything turned online, and even then at my school everyone's grades were frozen as they were and they couldn't drop, they could only go up. I wasn't able to go out with friends or go over to their houses, and they weren't able to come over to my house because of the fear of getting sick, and I didn't even have a job because I was far too young to even get one. One of the very first books I remember reading was actually Verity by Colleen Hoover. I found out much later that she was actually not a very good person, so please cut me some slack. I will admit though, even though this is one of the only books I've ever read by her, it was my favorite for a very long time. I've always loved thriller and horror movies and shows. For the longest time I can remember, they've always been my favorite genre for movies, and it was perfect because the book Verity was very focused on mystery and thriller. It was the perfect length for a beginner to start reading, with it only being about 300 pages, along with having an amazing plot twist that 13-year-old me did not think was going to happen. And from that point, I became obsessed with reading. I asked my dad to go to the nearest bookstore so I could buy so many new books. I would rack up as many points as I can on my membership card so that one day I could go on a shopping spree. To this day, I'm still trying to rack up more points so I can go on that big shopping spree. However, a few months ago, I stopped reading for a very long time. It wasn't intentional, but it just kind of slipped away from me between university, assignment deadlines and exams, digital life constantly taking over with the endless scrolling on TikTok. My brain was always just kind of at the time, I'd much rather lay down and scroll on TikTok than to even read. I was honestly burnt out at that point, being tired of reading, consuming content that I would not even remember 5 minutes later. I would try opening up a book, but I'd put it down right away and pick up my phone instead. How it is now in the modern world, we're so used to noise, whether it being in the background, a video playing on repeat, constant notifications popping up your phone, but books do not make those noises. There were a couple great books that brought me back to reading, and I love them so much. I do have 3 I'm going to briefly discuss to show you guys what truly brought me back and out of my slump. Little disclaimer that these books are really focused on mystery and thriller just because that's the genre that I really like. A few of them do dabble in romance, one of them dabbles in a little bit of fantasy too. However, if you do want a video about genres other than just mystery, then let me know and I'd be happy to make one because I have quite a few books I can expand on. The first book that truly brought me out of my slump was The Perfect Place to Die by Bryce Moore. It is a perfect little 300-page mystery book. It's set around the 1890s in Chicago, following 2 sisters, Zaretta and Ruby, who are from a small town in Utah. One day, Ruby decides to run away so that she can experience the big city life in Chicago. Zaretta, of course being worried, decides to go and find Ruby. With Zaretta asking around about Ruby, seeing who knows information, her investigation soon leads her to a hotel called The Castle, and that is where Ruby is said to work. The Castle is a mysterious hotel of horror filled with secrets, and Zaretta is trying to find out what happened to Ruby and the man who's behind all of this. The vibe of this book is very dark historical mystery. It's where horror meets true crime, which I personally really love. This was one of the books that truly got me out of my reading slump, and I kid you not, I read it in one sitting. The best thing about this book is that it's not too long and it kept me wanting to read more. I wanted to know what happened in the hotel and where Ruby went. Another great thing is I love the way Bryce just more wrote about the hotel. The way he would explain the corridors and was very descriptive, it felt like I was actually in the hotel myself. I would say this is a perfect 5-star read, personally. I definitely recommend at least going to check it out or reading the description some more. I got this book at the thrift store, but I'm sure you could find it at any local bookstore. Another great short mystery book is The Woman in the Library by Solari Gentle. I hope I'm saying that right. I'm sorry if I'm not. It's where 4 strangers meet in the library, specifically the reading room. They're all doing their own thing until a woman's scream breaks the silence. The library falls into lockdown and the 4 of them start forming an uneasy conversation. But a bond soon forms between all of them, except one of them is hiding something. The story follows a main character, Winifred, also known as Freddie. She's an Australian writer who's visiting Boston on a fellowship. She uses the strangers at her table as inspiration for characters in her new novel. However, the truth begins to unfold. This book has a very interesting writing style that I fell in love with, because not only does it follow the main character's story, but it follows a second story as well. And it's told through letters of a man named Leo who's reading Freddie's story chapter by chapter. This book is very mysterious and kind of has a psychological depth to it. And for those of you who like a little romance, this book has it. It's quite subtle as a slow burner, but it is laced with uncertainty. With this book being less than 250 pages, it's honestly perfect to try to get out of a slump. 100% recommend. Little mystery, hinted with a bit of romance. And the last book that I will talk about that has always stuck with me is A Lesson in Vengeance by Victoria Lee. I've actually mentioned this book in one of my previous videos before, which you should go check out. This book includes a bit of queer romance, another classic slow burner that's filled with tension and danger, as well as dabbling in a little bit of fantasy. It takes place at Dalloway School, which is a very old campus surrounded by superstition. Felicity Morrow, a smart but fragile student, returns to Dalloway after a tragic incident happened. She's grieving and haunted, but not only by memories, but by something darker. Back in the dormitory, specifically Godwin House, there's a story about 5 girls who are accused of witchcraft who died mysteriously. Entering Ellis Haley, a young prodigious novelist who has a reputation of being absolutely brilliant. She arrives at Dalloway School looking for inspiration for her next book. She takes an interest in Felicity, and together they begin to research about the school's history of witchcraft. However, soon enough, the lines between reality and madness begin to blur together. This book ties with themes of manipulation, grief, and psychological unraveling. These 3 books I truly recommend for trying to get out of a slump. Even if mystery isn't your type of genre, these 3 are still great books to check out and to fall in love with, like I did. Each somewhat short, each a mystery, but very different stories. Now that I'm done talking about the specific books that I truly love and I recommend, let's talk about one thing that really helped me with reading, and that was the part before reading, making it a specific moment for you. I personally love lighting a candle in my room, making a cup of coffee or even tea if you prefer. Sometimes I put on some soft music on my CD player or even on my phone, or even rain sounds can mean the difference, and soon enough reading will feel like more of a ritual instead of a task. The smallest things can make such a big difference when it comes to reading. Getting a good book and being in a good environment. The aesthetics definitely helped, but something that helped even more was letting myself actually enjoy the act of reading. I also dropped the pressure of reading. I used to have to feel like I needed to finish a book in one sitting or in one day and super quick, but honestly, who cares? Reading isn't a competition unless you make a fun one with your friends. It's supposed to make you feel good about yourself, unless you're reading a super sad book like A Little Life. But the important thing is to give yourself permission to actually enjoy reading. Take your time and read what you like at your own pace. Me personally, I love having physical books in my personal collection. I'm not much of an e-reader or don't own a Kindle or read on my tablet at all. I like owning physical copies of my books so that not only I can have it in my hand and have the new scent of the new book, but also so I can add it to my collection and soon enough build my own library. Not everyone is like that, and e-reading is just as fine too. But to sum everything up, the most important thing about reading is doing what you like. You don't have to read a specific genre that someone tells you to. There's no right way to read a book. I hope you maybe learned something in this video, learned something about me maybe, but most importantly, I hope you learned to let yourself actually enjoy the act of reading, not having it be a task of something that you have to do, or you have to get a certain amount of pages done in a day. Unless you're very ambitious and have a goal, then that's fine too. But as long as you actually enjoy reading, do it how you want to. And that's how I fell in love with reading. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. It's a little different me talking to the camera, so I hope it wasn't too weird for you guys. I'm hoping to maybe do more videos like this where I'm actually speaking to you guys. If you did like this style of video, please let me know in the comments. Leave a like. It'll definitely help me out feel better about making this type of content. Again, these 3 books books I 100% recommend reading if you're trying to get out of a slump. They're great little short reads. And again, if you want me to recommend more books of different genres or just in general, please let me know and I'll be happy to make a video just like that. Thank you all so much for watching today's video. I love you all so much. The support has been amazing and I appreciate every single one of you. Comment down below what book you're reading right now and what your favorite genre is. Again, thank you so much for watching and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye guys, have fun reading!